This is the All About Nothing podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the All About Nothing podcast. I am Barrett Gruber, in keeping with our initiative of providing information for just about everything that's going on. I want to welcome to the podcast Wilhelmina McEwan, Chief Executive Officer of Fenwick Equestrian. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Also, want to introduce someone that I actually met at the Soda City Comic Con, who was volunteering there and did a ton of work, from what I could tell, because when we actually met, the back gate was open. It was 103 degrees outside, and they were sitting there. Deneen Blake, but she was sitting at the door with just, there's no air conditioning, and if anyone visited Soda City prior, or if you were a vendor or anything like that, it was hot on that floor. So welcome to the show, Deneen Blake, who also works. You work with the Fenwick Equestrian.
My day job is here at Broad Street, and
okay.
I know Wilhelmina Fenwick is one of our clients, and so we facilitated the partnership. It was just connecting the dots. So
very, very cool. Okay. Well, and finally, want to introduce to the show Ric Weitzel, who is one of the co-founders of YEDA, which is a youth riding program, Youth Equestrian Development Association. He's talking to us from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome, Ric.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So the reason that we're all here together is because there has been a partnership that has come together between YEDA, the youth riding program, Youth Equestrian Development Association, and the Fenwick Equestrian, correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
All right. So what I guess basically I want to I want to give our listeners an idea of what Fenwick Equestrian is. So if Wilhelmina, if you could give us an idea of what it is that Fenwick Equestrian is, then we can get I guess an idea of what's going on here.
I'd be glad to. Fenwick Equestrian we design and manufacture high-performance therapeutic products for horses. Forever and ever, we've been using cotton and wool and nasty things and have laundry up to our eyeballs every day with the horses. And the high-performance athletic wear had never been adapted to the equestrian world. So we, about 15 years ago, decided it was time to get with it. And we started with various, like bamboo, jade, UPF products. And we ended up then with our liquid titanium line of products, which is unbelievable. It increases blood flow, accelerates healing, and it has a calming effect on the horses. And we got very lucky with it, but it's something that anybody can use at any level of competition. It can be used for backyard horses. It can be used for trailering your horses. And it will make the horses take a deep breath, relax, and focus on what they're supposed to do without any drugs.
Gotcha. And that and natural with animals is absolutely I assume it's something that is something that is really wanted by the owners of these animals, horses. So that's terrific. And what a niche. I mean, that's really interesting from the perspective of, because not having any knowledge when it comes to anything equestrian is so the idea of that is really a neat idea to have to basically build on the idea that, you care for these animals. These animals are important to you, and they're not just tools. That these are actually, like, in a lot of cases, part of the family. I mentioned before we started recording, I have friends that actually own two of their own horses, and I have to imagine that these are, like I said, these are just parts of their family.
Oh, without a doubt. People will spend more on their horses than they will on themselves.
Yeah.
And it's their life, and the horses give back so much.
Yeah.
And there's a rapport between humans and horses that's amazing, which the world is finally figuring it out with like veterans, PTSD, with children that have been abused. It's finally getting recognition in Washington, and money's going across the country to set up these programs.
Yeah,
And then
that's
all we do is help the horses just settle and calm a bit, be easier to handle sometimes with inexperienced people around them. And with the drug situation, also with athletes, it's basically getting to no drugs at all. And this is a product that will help the horse settle down and focus. And they don't have the hungover effect. And a lot of times when you do tranquilize a horse, they don't remember the next day. They're fine when you right for the moment, but then the next day you're right back to square one.
Yeah.
And with this, they learn.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, you don't even need the products on the horse, the calming products. I mean, we have a whole line that covers every part of the body, but the hood, the mask, this wonderful little thing that goes over the horse's head, that's the one item that has just been made unbelievable changes worldwide for horses.
So it's actually providing a level of comfort that wasn't there before with previous products, correct? That's the idea.
Correct. It's there's titanium that's infused into the fiber, and the titanium is working with the body to balance serotonin levels. And it's an all natural thing. We're the only ones in the world that have it.
Awesome. That's
it's very niche, like you were saying, and everything's made in the United States. We've sourced everything here now.
That is very cool. Go ahead, Janine. I'm sorry.
No, just even better. It's in the U.S. and it's locally right down the street, like in South Carolina.
That's amazing.
Right down the street, and there are photos. So caveat, they're a little bit graphic, but someone from managing the website sent in a testimonial going, "How do I showcase this?" Meaning Wilhelmina and Fenwick, she had tried everything and was to the point where vets were like ready to give up on her horse, and she had happenstance come across the mask. And so she had submitted the contact form and said, like, people need to know. And the horse had actually like run into and had like a bolt go through its skull. There was a physical hole.
Wow. And
nothing was working. And she had used the mask just as a covering because it was challenging to change the bandages.
Yeah.
And it started healing. And we have photos of the hole getting smaller, the fur growing back. It's amazing. So if anybody needs to see what it does, like, we've got that.
Yeah. I we're getting into October. It's going to be suspense horror month, so no, I'm just kidding. But
no, the healing side of it is a whole nother, the medical side is a whole nother side to this.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay. Well, that's, so basically from the perspective of horse, horse equestrian treatment and therapy and things like that, that's essentially what Fenwick Equestrian handles. This is the idea is taking care of these animals so that that they're being cared for in a way that is natural, and that there is absolute progress in their healing or just in their therapy.
Correct.
That's fantastic. All right. Well,
the other thing, one note, we wanted to make it very affordable to everybody.
Sure.
And easy, and it is affordable. The other thing is it's completely machine wash and dry, the product.
Oh, wow.
You can't mess it up, and you don't have to, with a lot of magnetic products and ceramic products that have been on the market before, you had to have warm-up periods. It could only stay on the horse for 30 minutes. You had to then leave it, take it off, then put it back on. And it's really dummy proof. And you can leave it on 24/7. And if the horse needs help, it reacts to the body naturally. And if everything's functioning properly, it's just like having a piece of fabric on the horse.
That's amazing.
It doesn't continue to work and overdo it.
That's amazing. That's really that.
It's like too good to be true, almost.
It almost sounds like it, but I think that's fantastic that there is a product like that, and that again it's being created here in the United States, and that it's available, because over the course of the last in my experience in the last 20 years, I mentioned before that I have known several people that were involved in equestrian events, or just I have a friend that lives here in town that she owns something like 19 horses that I was just completely surprised at the number of people that are involved in equestrian, or that are that type of athlete, or that they own horses, and not necessarily farm horses, but horses that are being used for some of the programs, like youth programs here in the United States. Here in Columbia, South Carolina, the YMCA has several, I guess, outreach programs with some of the equestrian groups around town. So it's really interesting to find out that there is a market that is working to try and make comfortable, or more comfortable, the lives of these animals that are providing such an incredible service, which actually now leads us to our next group, which Ric Weitzel, you are one of the co-founders of YEDA, which is a youth riding program, called it's actually the Youth Equestrian Development Association. Tell us a little bit about that.
Correct. Well, YEDA was created very, very much so to bring youth kids together, and horses, at a grassroots level. A lot of times, to afford a horse it's expensive, and it can
Sure.
be very pricey. And this brings that together. That brings that ability for students who necessarily wouldn't own a horse to be able to learn to ride, and be able to compete at that level too. We also have the Youth Equestrian also develops students who are maybe own a horse and want to compete also, but have the ability to, at a higher level. So it's been kind of exciting bringing youth kids together and horses, and really develop it. We took a little bit of what we did from the collegiate programs that were out there. IHSA was a big part of what we learned, and we brought that to youth students.
How long has YEDA been around?
So YEDA's been around. This is going to be our 8th year in existence.
Okay.
So we're 23-24 season. It'll be 8 years. So that'll be our 8th nationals here in Tennessee, in June. So it'll be kind of exciting.
That's very cool. And what sort of, we were talking, you mentioned youth organizations that YEDA works with. What sort of organizations do you all have, as far as I guess, that are on your team, that sort of thing, as far as like what groups?
Well, YEDA pretty much stands alone, and what we do is
Okay.
we bring together coaches. Let's say a coach in Columbus, Ohio, that has a youth team, and they bring their kids to compete against other coaches throughout the country.
Gotcha.
Nationwide, we have teams in 38 states, 61 teams total. We should break the 900 mark in youth membership this year, which is
Very neat.
pretty good. We're aiming for 1,000 here in another year or two. So hopefully by our 10-year anniversary, we'll be at 1,000 students. But it's pretty exciting because, again, like I said, we're bringing new people into the equestrian field, into that sport, and learning about the athletes that they're riding, and becoming athletes themselves.
What would you say to, or how would you encourage parents that have children that are interested in potentially becoming equestrian, to becoming athletes in the equestrian sport? What would you do? What would you say to encourage them? Because like it was said before, it's not it's not an inexpensive sport to be involved with. But how would you encourage somebody to join up?
Yeah, what we do is we actually in YEDA, we have a coach finder mechanism. You can go to our website and you can find a coach in your area and go take riding lessons.
Yeah.
Get on a horse's back and learn.
Yeah, and in fact, the website is showyeda.com.
That's
Correct.
correct.
All right. So we'll make sure to plug that. And if you missed it, it'll be in the show notes, so you can find that. But yeah, so that's a really terrific organization to do that, because like I said, I know that there are a lot of my kids have been to Camden, out to the horse park in Camden. I've been to, it's the Cup. Is it the Cup, the race? It's part of
Carolina Cup.
the Triple
Carolina
Crown
Cup.
or whatever. Yeah, the Camden Cup. That I don't remember a lot of it because I wasn't there to apparently to pay attention to horses. It was a lot more.
Part
There
of the
was
parking lot tailgate party.
yeah. It was a lot more seeing hats and drinks than it was the racing, but it was a lot of fun. So I've been around a little bit of it. So that brings us to exactly what it is that we're here to talk about, which is there is a partnership that has been created between Fenwick Equestrian and YEDA. So who'd like to tell me about that? Oh, silence. All right. I'm going to go with Wilhelmina first. So Wilhelmina, can you tell us can you tell us what it is that's going on here?
Well, when Deneen first suggested it to me, we had been wanting to get our product in the grassroots areas of the horse industry across the country.
Sure.
Because it's seen mainly with the Grand Prix jumpers, the high-level dressage horses, the fancy race horses, all at the top level. But the product is so easy to use and so helpful in other areas, like a horse that doesn't like to go in a trailer. It can calm them down and they walk right on and they get to where they're going and they're settled. If they're at an event, and so many people are going to, small events, and they have their horse at home and they take it with them and it gets upset and doesn't like the loudspeaker. You put it on in the stall or the van and the horse will settle down. And a horse that is calmer is going to perform better. And it's a very easy product for a less experienced person to use. It's not going to hurt the horse and it's not going to do anything bad. And I'm trying to think. Ric, you can help with this.
Well, it is. The thing is, we were so excited when Fenwick came aboard, and I heard about him, and I didn't know a lot about him, so I researched it, and I got very excited because many of the horses are athletes, the ones that we have, and I also run equestrian facility, a lesson facility. I have 40 head here, 40 head of horses that I take care of. And we take these horses to horse shows. Now, they may not be horses that are showing at the top level anymore, right? These are horses that have been there, done that. Maybe, the reason I own them now because they don't quite go as pretty as they used to. But it doesn't matter. These horses are experienced and they can teach my youth students how to ride.
Correct.
And
That's
anything,
fantastic.
any products that we can find, like what Fenwick has, that can help promote those horses, make them feel better. I always kid everybody, especially my friends. I show AQHA too. And so I have a group of young horses. And I kid them all the time. I say, well, I got to go home and take care of the geriatric crew, and that's all my lesson horses, right? But you know what? They're still useful. They still have something to offer. And many of these students they learn so much from the older horses, and they can be a little tricky, a little sneaky, a little salty sometimes. And that's okay too, because kids can learn from that as well. But like I said, the Fenwick products, like I said, we were excited to see this come aboard because me as a coach and the other 61 coaches we have throughout the country are going to get introduced to these products and possibly be able to use them on their older horses.
Yeah, that's
Well,
fantastic.
that was like when I was growing up, our first horses that my brother and sister and I had were all older made horses. Made means they had lots of experience, but
Right.
they were less expensive because they were like Brigade was 17 when I got him. Well, he had aches and pains. I wish I'd had all this stuff back then, because instead of having to give a shot or put medicine on, like the blanket can be used and put on the horse, and in 30 minutes, they're just like feeling wonderful and all the aches and pains are gone away and, they're feeling young again. And like leg wraps can get the circulation out of a leg without putting medicine on it. And so these are a lot of things that are helpful to older horses. And like Ric was saying, the made horses are the ones that teach the younger kids and the beginners, because it's very discouraging to ride and go to a show and on a green horse, let me see, a horse that doesn't have that experience, and it's discouraging for the child not to be able to place or get a ribbon.
Sure.
But you get on an older horse that's already been there, done it. The kid can make some mistakes and they're still going to place and get a ribbon, and then it encourages them to go on.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
like Rick said, you don't want an inexperienced rider on an inexperienced horse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
these older horses just need a little help, like we need our Advil or Aleve or something,
Great.
us going as we get older. They need a little help, and the products can do it without drugs.
Well, that was what I was going to ask, is if there's a potential that I can just run into Camden and pick up, a wrap or something like that I could potentially use on myself. Would those, are this?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have a whole human line that we have. We did the human line so that people could see what the product does and understand what it's going to do for the horses. Like, we have hats and scarves that get rid of migraine headaches, reduce stress. We have shirts that get rid of aches and pains. We have, like biker shorts if you have hip or lower back problems. I mean, we've got the whole gamut.
Interesting.
That,
Yeah.
And like I said, that's like the non-horse side, but it proved to everybody, if it did it to me, I know what it'll do to the horse. And that was sort of our marketing strategy getting started, was human stuff.
Absolutely. That's and I think that's really awesome, especially that so as a whole, the idea that Fenwick Equestrian offering these products that are so invaluable to the horses and the market just in general, and then being able to partner with a program like YEDA that has coaching and riders across the country. You said 38 states.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I'm curious as to what states don't have horses, or that you guys haven't moved into, because I've seen Yellowstone. I know they're in Montana.
Yeah,
I've seen, and Texas. I know plenty of people in Texas. But
it comes down to demographics, right? Where most people at? There's horses in every state, right? I always kid my partners. I always tell them, when we get a team over in the Caribbean or in Hawaii, I'll go.
Yeah. Well, look, if you need to send somebody to speak for you too, I don't mind. So, I guess so. How did because as the the chief executive officer of Fenwick Equestrian, how did you get involved in this as your day job? Like, how did this start for you?
By accident.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I've ridden I grew up riding show horses and Grand Prix horses, and then my husband was in the racehorse business. He and his family owned Spendthrift Farm in Lexington, and we had Seattle Slew and Affirmed at the farm, the 2 Triple Crown winners back in the 70s, 80s. And I got very much involved in racing, and then he passed away, and we have a training center here in Camden. We used to break 100 yearlings a year for the racetrack, and
wow,
the opportunity came up to start designing, these high performance products. And we have a contact in Switzerland that worked with high performance fabrics, and we just started talking to her about it. And our other products were wonderful, the jade and the bamboo, everyone loved them. But I had always used companies that had like electricity or ceramic powder or magnets, and all these things were very effective, but you had to be really good to use them.
Yeah.
And you had to be knowledgeable or have the vets, there, and there were timed products, and I probably shouldn't mention names of companies, but we wanted something easy and more affordable. And like the ones with electricity and all of that, they were like $5,000. And then other things were $1,000. And the average person couldn't, it's hard for them to afford it. And the person with one horse or backyard horses or just casual pleasure riding, which there's much more in this country. I don't want to say the backyard horse, but just the pleasure horse that people enjoy and go to little shows on the weekend in their area. Those horses still need care.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can't be calling the vet every time something happens. Like with my fancy thoroughbreds, the vet was there all the time because, you had insurance and you had all sorts of things. And we had a great relationship with our vet. But there's a lot of people that don't even have access to a vet on a regular basis from considering where they live. So we decided my brother and I said, we need something affordable and easy to use. And then nothing could be washed. Everything was dry cleaned, or it was,
Oh yeah.
just a pain in the neck with horses. And with skin disease and bacteria, you had to be washing every day or going, and then you'd have to have multiple products. So we found this liquid titanium fabric, which, believe it or not, had been used. NASA had used it about 50 years ago for the astronauts. It was part of their program. They approached Milliken Industries to make the fabric here, and Milliken said, "Oh, it's too high tech. Nobody's going to buy it." So it went somewhere else. And then it disappeared. And Connie found it and said, "Here's something I think you might want to try." Well, the results were automatic. Once we got the right weave and weight and fabric, it was the minute we put it on horses, it was a success. And the people that had it were like, the trainers that tested it for us were like, "Oh my God, I got to have this." Because it's moisture wicking, breathable, quick dry. It's like an NFL fabric. You don't even know you're wearing it.
Yeah.
And you can wear black in the summer of South Carolina and not be hot. It reflects the sun. It's amazing, the technical qualities of it. And it rejuvenates you and makes you feel wonderful. And like open cuts on a horse will heal much more quickly without scar tissue.
Yeah.
Fractures will heal faster, so that there's all sorts of just medical therapeutic things that are fabulous about it. Well,
Yeah.
in looking at all the research that was done on humans and everything, one of the things was reducing stress and anxiety. And my brother came up with the idea. He says, these babies are all thoroughbred crazy things coming in and so nervous and getting ulcers. Why don't we make a blinker for them, which is this thing I showed you.
Yeah.
It's called a blinker. And he said, why don't we make this and see if it'll calm these babies down? Well, like sometimes within 10 minutes, you'll see them they'll be looking around and take a deep breath and their ears go like this. And they're like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" The younger they are, the faster it works. The older they are, it takes a little time. But we started noticing all of our babies were broken in them. It was part of putting the tack on, the bridle, saddle, everything. They got their mask. Our GastroGuard use went down, which was an ulcer medicine.
Yeah.
Because the babies were less stressed. And so they weren't getting ulcers.
That's amazing.
And they were happy to go do their work. And they weren't bucking the riders off. And they were just more receptive to doing what we wanted done. So we figured if this was working on thoroughbred yearlings and thoroughbred 2-year-olds, it's going to work on anything.
Yeah.
Because they are the most hyper of all. And then a lot of the retired race horses then would go to be these horses that the YEDA kids are using and for a second career.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hyped up from being at the racetrack, and you can put this mask on them and they're like, "Okay, life's okay. It's not so bad." And the older they get, the longer you may have to wear it or use it. But a lot of them in time don't need it anymore. Some of them are going to wear it the rest of their life when they're training. Horses that are really bad stall walkers, we've found it slows them down and they just say, "Okay, I don't want to run around this stall anymore." It's just, and bad habits seem to sort of change in time. And
Yeah.
but it's easy to use and it can't hurt. And
Yeah.
that's the wonderful thing about it. The inexperienced person can't mess it up.
Yeah.
And it can help.
Yeah, and Rick, to you on that, that really sounds like, especially with the number of people that are involved in YEDA and the broad 38 states that you all are in, it sounds like this has the benefit of potentially, especially the ease of care as far as the washing of it. It can be machine washable, that sort of thing. That some of these products, it helps you all out financially too. There's got to be a financial benefit to it.
Well, absolutely. Especially many of my coaches, that are in YEDA, they have big programs and lots of students and lots of horses that they have to maintain on a regular basis. Anything that can make it more affordable, anything where we're not using drugs,
Yeah.
is, look, therapeutic type drugs are great. an aspirin, super, that's awesome. But boy, anytime we can find products like these that make those horses feel so much better, and to what Wilhelmina was saying about, the thoroughbreds sometimes being, it's horses in general. They're herd animals. They have that extra sensitivity, and anything we can kind of bring them down and just say, it's okay. It's going to be all right. Even older horses that have been there, done that, things happen and they get excited. We've got to be able to calm them in a way that's, doesn't look abusive or look too hard on the animal,
Yeah.
It can be interpreted that way many times. And so, hey, we'll use these things to make the horses just relax.
Yeah. Yeah, I think again, not being a horse person, not being I'm a city slicker, I guess. Whatever that means nowadays. But, I have an appreciation for everything that goes into taking care of these animals, and I watch the races sometimes. Like, as far as like the Kentucky races, and then the Camden Cup and things like that around here in South Carolina. And I feel for these animals. Like, I'm an empath. So if I hear that somebody's hurt, or that one of these animals has been hurt, or, you hear the terrible tragedies of what goes on sometimes with these big races where a horse is injured. And that I am glad that there are people out there that care enough to develop and come up with these ideas to try and take care of them in a manner that is as therapeutic and comforting to the animals, and that you all genuinely care about these animals. Because it's not just, with YEDA, it's not just about the representation of, or having an organization for youth and children and teenagers and whatnot to be involved in the animals, but it's also them understanding the importance of these animals in lives and in general.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Absolutely. The students learn how it is to take care of horses, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of it, right? We wouldn't be here. None of us would be here if it wasn't for these creatures, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay? So if they don't learn to respect them, to take care of them in a way that, and our coaches, for the most part, I would say I can't think of any coach that I don't believe that the horse is their primary concern. Yes, our youth kids are our concern too, but the athletes are not only the students but the horses as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Barrett, you hit the nail kind of right on the head there, because that's exactly what sparked this partnership. Working with and knowing Wilhelmina, and then also knowing Ric's partner Laura, who we mentioned earlier. There are different parts of the world, different bubbles of the racing industry, if you will, or equestrian industry. Wilhelmina was very well known in the racing world, but not the grassroots or the Western type. And Laura and Ric and their other partner YEDA are part of that grassroots ranch riding 4-H other side of the equestrian sphere. But it was like talking to either of them, whether it was Wilhelmina or Laura, it was like they were both, everything you heard was, and it's quoted in the press release, anything for the horses, absolutely 100% anything for the horses. And it's like, I'm talking to two different people, right?
Yeah.
Bringing them together was a no-brainer. It was absolutely a must. So when Wilhelmina was like, oh, we'd love to grow, and it's like Laura, you're teaching youth riders, which there's more up and coming. Like, you two have to talk. So
yeah,
getting them together on calls was phenomenal. And it's grown and blossomed from there, to where we are now, with officially in a partnership. And Ric, it's a pleasure, being able to meet and speak with you finally. But that's
not just by email.
Yeah, not just by email, right?
Right. No.
But like you said, Barrett, unfortunately, we only hear about the high-profile accidents, like at the racetrack or something,
Right.
and they're tragic. But they happen everywhere. It's not just racehorses that break a leg, and it's and it's just heart-wrenching for anybody around and for the entire industry. I mean, we hate it. It's like something happening to one of your children.
Yeah.
And, it just stays with you, and and a lot of the organizations out there that are against us, they publicize that, and they don't know what we put in and what the time we put into these animals. And I mean, up at midnight, making sure a horse isn't going to, if he's got a colic or he's going to the vet, or, you just spend hours and hours with them, and it doesn't matter what the weather's like. And the thunderstorm's coming, you've got to bring them in. You're out in the rain and you're slicker. And, we treat them like a family member.
Yeah.
They mean everything to us.
Unbelievable. And you're trying to take care of something that can't tell you what's wrong.
Absolutely.
Like, it's the same as having pets. They can't express to you where it hurts or what's going on with them. What were you going to say, Deneen?
Watch them, because these people know. It's another language. Honest to God, they are speaking their own horse whisperer. It's a true thing. They know.
That's amazing.
It's there.
That's amazing.
My brother he has that sixth sense when it comes to horses. It's I remember one day when he was working in Kentucky, on his day off, he would have to come in just to bring one horse in out of the paddock, because this colt would not come in for anybody except Fred. And until they got it to the sale, I mean, he never had a day off really for the whole summer, because this colt would just stay at the end of the paddock. And, if Fred didn't get me, I'm not coming in.
Goodness. Well,
but that's how they are.
Big event coming up, September 23rd and 24th in Camden. Tell us what's coming up.
So
Ric knows more about that.
That's the YEDA show. That's over Ric.
That's going to be one of our YEDA events. So we have shows all over the country again in Camden. We love that show down there. Joy McMillan puts on the show for us. I believe one of our partners is going to be there to help, and that's going to be one of the events that YEDA puts on for the youth students. Coaches bring a pool of horses. The students draw a horse out of a hat. We say that it's a draw style riding, and they have to show the horse. Okay. And maybe that student has never ridden this horse before. They've laid their eyes on that horse for the first time that morning, and they're going to go show in a couple of different events, in a rail event and then in a pattern event. Okay.
Very cool.
And they're judged that way. And what it is they're judged on their skill to ride that horse. And it's
very cool.
It's very leveling. You know what I mean? So it isn't like you brought your own horse to the show and you've got it won. It's a little bit more challenging to the student rider. So
gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then coming up October 4th and 5th in Columbus, Ohio. This is the Quarter Horse Congress.
Yeah, so the All American Quarter Horse Congress is going to be put on there by the Ohio Quarter Horse Association. So that is their show. It's a huge event. They've invited us, YEDA, to put on a show there along with them, and we'll be using the Coliseum there in Columbus. And it's usually a pretty cool event because our student riders get to experience a large, very well-known horse show in the quarter horse Western world. So it's really cool. They get to see the big time and show their horses at there too. So
very, very neat. That I assume I'll be able to watch videos that people publish on YouTube from both of these events, because I told Deneen, so it's not that I won't come around horses, but I know that I'm going to have an allergic reaction, which really stinks, because I was in Boy Scouts. I did Philmont twice. One of the times I did Philmont was on cavalcade. So we rode horses. I developed allergies after the age of like 20, and horses is one of them, because I have papers to certify that. But yeah, no, that's very exciting. That's having these events and being able to get out there with the YEDA program and show people that there is an organization that is working to bring coaches together and to bring athletes together, and then having Fenwick Equestrian, having them to have the passion to develop products that are going to take care of these animals in a very humane and therapeutic way that doesn't involve being injected with drug after drug after drug and things like that, because it's not necessarily about you know, getting the horse just ready for the next show, but it's you know, making it's a family member that you are comforting and working with so that they are at their peak ability and comfort and health and that. So that all is just really, really cool. I think for the most part, this is something that's very interesting to a lot of the people that probably listen and watch our podcast, because I know that we have people that are interested or that are involved in equestrian events that have expressed an interest in even just hearing about more events like this around South Carolina and around the country, because I'd like to think that we have listeners in Ohio, but you know, it's really this is one of those things that I think people need to know more about. As far as YEDA, do you all do anything as far as like any sort of charity, as far as people providing, or is it is YEDA involved in any sort of charity that people can make any donations to?
Sure. We are a 501c3 organization.
Okay.
What our main objective is providing scholarship opportunities and dollars to students who want to continue to ride into college or past their adult years, because many youth students or youth riders become youth adult riders who contribute to this industry that we so love. And we want them to continue it on. You know, if we don't have young people coming up and buying horses, purchasing horses, riding horses, then a lot of us won't have our what we love to do, that we won't be able to pass that on to the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's showyeda.com, SHOWYEDA.com. So you can click on the you can go to the website, find more information. I saw on there that there are events listed of what you all have coming up as well. And as far as Fenwick Equestrian, it's fenwickequestrian.com. I'm not going to spell it out because I'm going to destroy it. But even it's right in front of me. I know I'll stumble through it. But you can check out the products that are available from Fenwick Equestrian, including the Fenwick or the liquid titanium therapeutic products, as well as some of the therapeutic devices. I keep pointing to my knees because that's where I have the most pains.
Joint brace.
Yeah, please. I tried the copper tone socks. I didn't get anything out of them because the pain wasn't in my toes, but you know, it just seemed odd that was a Christmas gift. Last question that I'll ask, and this is open to all of you. Do you think that any of the equestrian products that Fenwick has could potentially get Aaron Rodgers back on the field this season? I'm seeing a lot of no faces.
Yes.
After surgery.
Yeah, after surgery, it'll accelerate healing.
It will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If he were to wrap up that ankle after surgery, it is going to heal faster.
So, Barrett, you find the address.
We'll send him
the leg wrap.
We'll send Aaron Rodgers
Tag us all in the photo when he takes his picture.
I suspect he's going to get his surgery. He's going to be down there in the hills and the mountains, the Peruvian mountains, hitting the ayahuasca. I suspect he's and I don't need the Jets to do any better. I don't have any Jets on my fantasy team, so it's okay. Rick, were you going to say something about that?
I was going to kid you and say, who's Aaron Rodgers? Does he have a horse?
There you go. Yeah.
What bad luck! Oh my God.
What's that guy?
Yeah. No, I have a Cleveland adjacent Joe. I have Joe Burrows on my fantasy team. So I
Cincinnati, my friend.
I know, but it's Cleveland adjacent to, you know, it's
north and south of Ohio. Cleveland's on the lake. Cincinnati's down next to Kentucky.
I'm just saying it's all in the same state. That's what I'm trying to point out is yeah. No, that's terrific. Well, listen, to both Deneen and Wilhelmina for being here to talk with us. Ric, also thank you for taking time to talk with us. This is fantastic. Again, the website for YEDA is showyeda.com.
Correct.
The website for Fenwick Equestrian is fenwickequestrian.com. You can check out details there. There's also going to be information about shows that YEDA is going to be involved with all over the country. So if you are listening to this in a location that is going to be close, not necessarily Cleveland and Cincinnati close, but Columbus, Cincinnati close maybe. But check out the website, showyeda.com. You can go and check that out. And if you have horses, if you're not involved in anything right now, or if you don't already have something that you're using therapeutically for your animals, check out fenwickequestrian.com, because there's absolutely a market there, and they have products there that have been specifically designed by people that love horses, and they love they want to care for those animals as best as possible. So check out fenwickequestrian.com as well. So plenty of information in the show notes. Listen, Wilhelmina, Deneen, and Ric, thank you very much for being on with us on this podcast. I understand this was your first podcast. Is that correct?
Yes, my first one. Oh my God.
All
yes.
Right. Hey, you did great. You did fantastic. Ric,
Hopefully I'll get better.
Me too. I don't know as part of the plan. But anyway, I'm the background worker.
I felt like Deneen was trying when we talked several weeks ago. I felt like Deneen was trying to work her way into it anyway. So
out of it.
That's okay. So listen, thank you very much, you all, for being on with us, and we will do anything to support. If you send us information about events, we're happy to talk about them on the show and promote those as well. So please use us as a platform. We will absolutely do everything we can to make that work out for you.
Thank you for having us, Barrett.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
This has been the All About Nothing podcast. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. Thanks to Trent Clark, aka DJ Lonzo. Join him weekly at the venue in Columbia, South Carolina for the Saturday All-Star Drag Brunch and Sundays at the Review Drag Brunch. You can also contact Trent for all your entertainment needs. Trent at theallaboutnothing.com and on Instagram at TheRealDJLonzo. You can also phone him 803-262-7982. Thanks to Zach King. You can follow him on Instagram at KingZach07 and on Twitter at CarolinaKing21. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber, or visit my Linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland. Available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. Check out DJ Lonzo's Top 5, available on all of the podcast platforms. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. The All About Nothing podcast is a product of Big Media. Copyright 2023. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2023, all rights reserved.